Well, salutations, kindred spirits. Hello and welcome back to another weekly Wednesday magic lesson. Yeah, that's right. If you're new here, it's what we do on Wednesdays. A little lesson to make better magic, which is our general mission statement. And hey, if that sounds like your jam, click that subscribe button, join the magic party, come on in, the water's fine. All right, as you can see, I got a lot to talk about today. I've been quite busy ordering things from magic distributors, and let's take a look at a few things I've got to work on. This is the whole thing. This is a trick that's been in my repertoire really since the 80s, but I haven't had the cards for it. Happy to have this new re-release back in stock. My good buddy Jimmy talks a lot. I was happy to share one of his sets of Eric Evans handmade Slidini silk sets. Eric Evans, 1 degree of separation from the king himself, Cellini, who learned that trick from Slidini, and I can't wait to share it with you in the near future. Stay tuned, that's coming up soon. Those silks are amazing. Eric, if you're watching this, wow, great job. This new rope magic, that needs some work. Lots of practice to be done there. I've got this new thing from Brent Braun. This is Brent's new FPS wallet. It's basically a coin wallet. There's some great productions you can do with larger items, like pulling a Sharpie pen or 2 out of this thing. And well, that's on my practice list. And if you don't check out Brent Braun's stuff at brickandmortarmagic.com, he's the real deal, man. brickandmortarmagic.com. Go check out Brent Braun. These are the main things on the practice list. These are the 2 big kahunas, and I'm real happy with both these purchases. Let me tell you what they are. And as I'm talking about these props, I do want to mention maybe I could squeeze in some reviews occasionally, like spend a episode talking about. I could spend 10 minutes probably talking about these cups. I don't know if you want me doing that, but if you do want me doing that, drop me a line in the comments. Let me know if you'd like to hear my thoughts on the magic products I purchased. So what are these, Mr. Doug? These are the Legend cups, which are, I think, produced by Murphy's Magic. This is a copper set of cups. This is the polished copper. They offer an aged set and a polished. I actually wanted the aged set, but they were out of stock. The rumor mill says they're replacing the stock, but it might be a few months, so I went ahead and got some of these, and man, I'm real happy I did. This is a smaller cup. They're not real beefy, but man, they've got some great weight to them. And listen to this. Oh, baby. So yeah, if you're ever in an environment where you need to get a little attention, that's a nice set of cups that can probably do the job for you. I also got some nice leather hand-stitched baseballs. I used to always use the little Mike Rogers baseballs. He was the producer of these for the longest time, but I haven't had them for a while, so I treated myself to a luxurious ball, and I look forward to handling these. And hey, I'll stay tuned for some of the latest and greatest cups and balls moves as soon as I practice my new sequences. And we're getting to the topic at hand in just a second, practicing. You'll see that soon, but man, I can recommend this. I could also say I'd like to add these things to Conjure.com. I think that's a great, reasonable set of cups and balls that won't break the bank, and look for those to be added to our website in the near future, as well as this product. This is a, let me tell you what it is. It's the Malero Rings. If you're a magician who has, maybe you've done the Shutagawa's handling of the rings or the Masada rings. There's been a lot of versions of small rings. Well, these small rings are a little bit bigger, and they come in this great case, which is, I guess, a CD case. They're 5 inches, and the real key here for the Malero rings is the key. The key to the trick has been enhanced. It's a wonderful addition to the gaff, and wow, I'm really looking forward to practicing with this. And like I said, these things are probably going to be added to Conjure.com, so stay tuned for that. And if you don't know, Conjure.com is the site where I have beginner lessons, I sell beginner props, and have like recommended reading, and maybe go check that out too. And if you feel so inclined, support the shop, support my efforts, you know, helps grease the wheel and keep this whole thing going. So yeah, all of that, the ropes, the coin purse, the silks need work. I haven't used those. New cups needs work. The rings, I haven't handled that size. And boy, I've got a lot of practice ahead of me. So today's topic is going to be practice. I figure we've been going over a lot of tricks. I hear you telling me you want some of that extra information. the real work, as the case might be. I mean, really, you can learn 500 tricks, but if you don't practice them well, if you don't know how to present them well, and stay tuned for next week, that's going to be our topic. I hear you, bro. We're going to talk about banter, about patter and presentation. That's coming up next week, but today we're talking about practicing our tricks. So where do we start? Well, let's start with the first 3 rules of magic. First 3 rules of magic are generally known as practice, practice, and practice. Not bad rules, but I'd like to clarify these 3 rules and then talk a little bit about each one as we clarify them. So instead of practice, 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 I'm going to advocate practice, rehearse, and dress rehearse. These are 3 forms of practice that you can apply to your magic that will give you better mechanical skills, develop your presentation and stage movements, and then develop the professional skills that you need to get through routines when maybe things aren't going optimally, or just to hone down that pro performance. So let's start first and foremost with just regular old practice. Let's say you're learning, I don't know, how to spin a wand or how to tap a cup. Maybe you're learning how to vanish a ball. Well, how do you go about that? Well, you're going to have to repeat the mechanics. Muscle memory is the way you learn, and that's why we practice. What I'm going to advocate for the practice is a couple of techniques I think make things a little easier for your muscles to memorize. 2 extremes I advocate. One is to practice slower. So when you're first learning a technique, if you're first learning, say, a false vanish, you're going to want to practice these techniques very slow so that your hands can get the muscles can memorize those techniques. Practice it slow, and maybe for about 15 or 20 minutes at a time. It's been scientifically proven that shorter practice sessions, but repeated more often, are more beneficial than longer practice sessions. So in other words, if you plan to practice this for an hour, don't just practice it for an hour. Practice it for 15 minutes 4 times throughout the day, and this will help your muscles learn. And practice it slower at first, and then maybe later, once you got the move down, you could practice it faster just to develop that muscle memory a little quicker. So there's a couple tips on mechanical practice. Practice slower and or faster. Slower at first, faster later, and time your sessions to be about 10 or 15 minutes repeated throughout a day. Practice. Rehearsal. This is where you're going to really learn how to present a trick. So you're going to get your presentation scripted or crafted. And again, that's coming up next week. We're going to talk about some ideas to help your presentations. Get that crafted, and now once you've got the mechanics of the trick down, you spend your official rehearsal time where you're working through, I would say, not just a trick, but I would recommend, and I've recommended this before, chaining 3 tricks together and practicing routines. Now maybe not this kind of extreme where you're jumping from coins to cups to rings, maybe 3 cup phases or 3 coin tricks. But if you can rehearse in segments of 3, you'll develop that presentation flow that's going to work well for you in the real world, as opposed to just, say, rehearsing 1 trick and then going to the next trick. You know, in the real world where you'll be performing, you're going to want to have 3 trick routines, at least 2, or maybe make them modular so you can cut out at any point. But rehearse your full presentation, and ideally rehearse them in sets of 3. You're allowed to take it, like if you mess up, you're allowed to stop and start over again, and you know, this is acceptable, but it's not in the 3rd phase of practice, which we're going to title dress rehearse. So in practice and rehearsals, you're going to have mistakes that happen. In dress rehearsal, when you put on the clothes you're going to wear, so you have proper pocket management, and you know what it feels like to wear that jacket that's a little snug or maybe a little loose, and you know so you're in your costume, you're ready to present your show, and I would suggest this. I would suggest practicing or doing your dress rehearsal for a camera. And I'm going to advocate maybe a weird lesson that I learned from Mike Amar back in the day, who used to advocate mirror practice. placing eyeballs on the mirror. He would cut out eyes from magazine and place them on the mirror. And if you practice with a mirror, that's probably still a good idea. This mirror practice, as good as it can be, is sometimes detrimental, as you tend to stare at your hands in the mirror as opposed to staring at the viewer, who you're supposed to be directing your attention to. So if you do a lot of mirror practice, don't forget to look up at the appropriate time. This is where dress rehearsal will help you as you direct your attention to the camera, and maybe you're not gluing eyes onto the camera, but treat that camera lens like it is your spectator, and now we'll see what you look like to your audience. And as I was saying, when you have those stumbling blocks, when you have things that go awry, work through them. If you drop a prop or mess up a thing, think about how you would correct that in the real world, and this will benefit you in the future as time goes on. Next time you drop a cup, it's important to make the illusion of clumsiness, as you'll have lines, you'll have the steps you need to make the performance flow a little smoother. And there we go. Here's a little ramble about practice. Practice slower, practice faster. One thing I didn't mention, practice right before bed. If you're practicing mechanical sleights, another scientific fact, if you practice before bed and sleep on it, your muscles will remember that as well. So there we go, another tip in the practice list. And there you have it, that's practice theory according to Doug Kahn. I hope that information serves you well. And hey, before leaving, as always, I say thank you. I thank you for your time, your energy, and your attention. And hey, I'll see you on the next clip. Ciao for now.